police that he can't get to.
If you guys are looking for a place to get some reliable Ultimate Team coins, be sure to check the link in the description below to cointraders.co and use code LEGACY for 5% off of your purchase. Yo, what is going on, guys? Today we're back playing some more NHL 18, and we are back with another episode in our series of Can We Win the Stanley Cup in the first year. This week we are on the Florida Panthers. That's right, this week. That's like the second time this month. Second time, okay, first time this year. Who am I kidding? It's like January 3rd. But still, we're on a roll. Once every 4 days this year we come out with an episode for this series. So we're doing great. But then Florida Panthers have a 71 million cap hit. So we have about 4 million in cap hit to work with. It's not really the greatest, but 4 million is definitely a lot better than nothing. We know how difficult those trades can be with teams that want to not retain salary for us. I've never really thought about keeping salary cap off because it's always been part of the series to keep it on. But I'm starting to wonder, like, do you guys ever want to consider leaving it off? Because the fact of the matter is, if you guys remember the last episode, we literally was just experimenting with doing like 5 first-round draft picks for a player that's not even hardly worth 1. No offense to those players or anything. That's not hardly even worth 1, but because we was asking them to retain salary, they wouldn't do it. So it just makes it that much more difficult. I guess it could be more of a challenge, I guess, too. You know, it's like, well, it's that much more difficult. They'll make it easy on yourself. Let's give it a challenge here. We'll just keep salary cap on all the time. It's up to you guys. You guys have to let me know, though. Florida Panthers, though, definitely do have a very nice looking top 6 as it is right now. Maybe we can get 2 or 3 forwards. Help out that bottom 6. The defense has Ekblad on it. We all knew that. Again, their defense really isn't that bad either. The bottom 2 D pairing, 79-79. I'm not too big a fan of that. Maybe we can get rid of. Maybe we can go pick up a couple more D-men. We'll see how things fall, though. You guys know how difficult it can be to make some trades. So we'll see what we can do with those. Our goaltending is a 86 overall. See, that's not even bad for Luongo. 86. It's a solid goalie. Maybe get a backup goalie, though. If we want to have a good season, make sure we actually make the playoffs. Because a 79 overall is a pretty rough goalie overall, even though it is a backup. Looks like Owen Tippett is our only prospect that has a decent amount of trade value. Everybody else is NHL players. We'll have to decide if we want to trade any of them away as well. First thing we got to do is figure out who the heck we want to get our darn selves. We're going to start with a few small pieces here. The first one being Sam Reinhart. Now, last time we did this, we really caught ourselves in a bind when it came to salary cap. So we're going to try to get as many salary cap friendly players as we possibly can. All right, so here's the offer. It doesn't seem very fair. I'm not going to try to say this guy's name. Actually, it does seem fair. Who am I kidding? I'm a very biased player. Not trying to say his name. Not going to try because you guys make fun of me. And they took it. Perfect. A little bit surprised by that. I'm a little bit kind of on the excited side too. We believe this transaction will contribute to our success here in Buffalo, so we are accepting your trade offer. Perfect. Looks like the Calgary Flames want to trade Backlund. They want Tippett. The cap hit isn't terrible. I'm still going to ask you to retain some, and the problem is with that is it scares me because teams that don't want to retain salary, you cannot possibly trade for it. I don't know if I want Backlund to be that guy we pay $3 million for. I mean, he's an 84 overall. He's not that bad. It's just, can we find another guy with a higher overall that's, you know, same 4 or 5 million cap hit range? That would be worth it more than Backlund would be. Can we get Backlund for a second-round draft pick also? I mean, we're asking to retain salary, so I can't imagine. Trade rejected. This will not work. The situation we're not comfortable. Oh, no. So no Backlund because they will not retain salary, and we know we cannot get deals done with salary not being retained or with salary being retained, even if we offer 15 million first-round draft picks. At least we figured that out, though. Saves us a little bit of time in these trades. Maybe we can throw him some cap back there. You think they'll take McKenzie? I mean, the guy's killing it with 1.3 million, which isn't terrible, but it's still cap hit. It's still freeing up space. We know McKenzie will barely be playing since Reinhardt's on the team anyway, or Backlund's on a team that's just going to push him down the list as well. So we'll see what they're thinking here. Trade accepted. Trade accepted. I think the Calgary fans will think we came out ahead here. Okay, perfect. That's fine. We needed a center. Now let's see if we can find some defense. 2 more players made some cap space there. Going back on what I was saying earlier, though, about the whole player name situation thing. I just want to say, you guys, like, everybody's like, oh, these guys, they don't know how to pronounce their names, or I don't understand how they can do a YouTube video and not know how to say the player's name. I want you guys to keep one thing in mind here. There's what, thousands of players on this game from 20, 30, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, different countries. You consider, you know, half those countries speak different languages. You're pretty much asking us to know how to speak 10 different languages to properly pronounce these guys' names. I get it, some of them may seem easy if you're from Finland, you're from Sweden. Maybe you're from Quebec and you know French really well. Oh, guess what? I don't know French. I know Spanish better than I know French, and there's not too many Spanish guys in hockey. Maybe I'd be able to pronounce their names a little bit better. And then you throw in the fact that you know, if they're like 19, they're 20, like when would I have ever heard of these guys? Because I sure as heck ain't hearing them on TV highlights, because the only thing that we get on TV highlights over here on ESPN is basketball and football. Literally, it's the only thing we ever hear about. You know, unless Crosby's playing Ovechkin or something, we get lucky to see a little Crosby-Ovechkin segment sometimes. Other than that, we hardly even get to see the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, and then there's also 6 different ways you could say name if you wanted to look it up anyway. So it's like, it's tough. I know it seems easy for you, those that are fans of the team and everything else, but it can be tough, all right? Just believe me. I can barely speak English, all right? First round draft pick, Tyson Barrie, could definitely bolster up that defense. We are running out of any other form of draft picks. But we've been doing good. We haven't lost a single first-round draft pick. Granted, we did lose Tippett, and I'm sure those Florida Panther fans would definitely not want to trade them in real life. But this is the thing. We're just trying to win in one season. Tyson Barrie, I want you to retain some salary. I don't think you're going to do it. I'm going to try it. Because if he can't retain salary, we're going to be very limited on who else we can give it. That's where we're at, though. If we want an 84 overall type defenseman, it's going to have to take about $5 million. Because that's about the average when you go around looking for players. Trade rejected. Salary won't be retained. Go figure. So I guess we're just going to try Tyson Barrie straight up. We're still going to have a 1.05 mil in cap space after this, but we may be done after this Tyson Barrie trade. But there's only so many players we can go after. I don't know. I think we're going to go back to it. Maybe we can find an 85 overall defenseman and trade for more. Because if we're going to lose all of our money, we might as well get a good player. Am I right? Speaking of 85 overalls for 5 mil, how about Seth Jones? Alrighty, Columbus. I'm offering you 3 first-round draft picks for Seth Jones. I get sentimentally attached to my players, so I don't know how I'd feel about it, but I feel like still 3 first-round draft picks seems like a pretty nice deal with Columbus. What do you guys think? For Seth Jones, trade rejected. Totally unwilling to part ways with what you requested from us unless you are going to give us something spectacular. Well, as of right now, 3 first-round draft picks is pretty spectacular. But just for you, I'll throw in a 4th to see if we can get Seth Jones off your hands. And we cannot. All right, so we may have to stick with the whole Tyson Barrie, or not Tyson, yeah, Tyson Barrie situation, because 85 overall, couldn't get him with 4 first-round draft picks. I can't imagine it goes much easier for a lot of these other guys, unless there's an old defenseman out there somewhere that a team wants to move. Speaking of old defenseman, not really old, but his trade value is a little bit lower than Seth Jones, and that's Oscar Klefbom. If we can get Oscar Klefbom instead, I'll take it. I mean, they're both medium elite. I'll take it. No complaints here. 2 firsts and a second. Oscar Klefbom, trade rejected. Something about that trade surplus they're saying. You can never have too many draft picks, Edmonton. Come on, you guys know this. I mean, we're speaking to the team that's king of lottery picks here. We all know what you guys think about them first-round draft picks. I offered you 3 of them up for Klefbom. We'll do 1 more. We'll offer 4 first-round draft picks for Klefbom. His trade value wasn't as high as Seth Jones's, I don't believe. And I was kind of hoping I would make this work, but I don't think it's going to. Proposed trade rejected. All right, we're going back to Tyson Barrie. It's unfortunate we couldn't make something work there. Some reason Edmonton doesn't want draft picks anymore. I don't believe it. I think Edmonton might go out there and win a draft lottery again this year. Can you imagine if they go out there? I know people have been talking about it and joking about it, but if they went out there and won a draft lottery this year again and got Dolan, I wouldn't even want to talk about it. Here we go. Tyson Barrie, 2 firsts and a second. Trade accepted. All right, so we got Tyson Barrie. Perfect. And we have no cap left. Just for a good time, though, we're going to heavily overpay for Trevor Daley, who's an 82 overall, to try and once again get a few overall points bumped up on that third-line deep pairing to help the defense out, and they took it. So by the way it looks, we did not end up with a goalie. It looks like our 4th-line center is still 74 overall, but the funny thing is about that, like we kind of proved in a previous video, as much as I want to balance 4 lines, that we had a terrible 4th line of like 60 overalls, and we went out and won the Stanley Cup with the team. So it doesn't really affect your team as much as we may think. I mean, it obviously helps with the goal scoring department and stuff if they're out there 7-8 minutes a game. But other than that, though, it really didn't affect us winning the Cup. We have a very solid defense. I love seeing all of our defenses over an 80 overall. That really does help the team as well. And once again, we already mentioned, we did not mess with the goaltending. We kept Luongo. We kept Reimer. So as of right now, though, we're going to stick with this team. We'll sim up to the trade deadline. If our team's struggling, maybe we'll go out there and try to pick somebody else up. I don't know if we need a backup goalie to help that cause. I mean, what's backup goalie play? About 7 more games after the trade deadline at most. So we'll go ahead and start the season, see how it goes. I'll now catch you guys once we hit the trade deadline. So we've hit the trade deadline. We are 36-20. I'm feeling pretty good about this team. I don't think we need to make any more moves. I think we're just going to go out here and finish the season out and see how it goes. We finished off the season about 10-9. Not really where I wanted to see us do. I was hoping maybe we could pick up 12-13 wins. And clearly that went and showed us the difference between 2nd or 1st place into 3rd place in the division with only 99 points. So it looks like we're going to be a road team for these first couple of games. Looks like we're going to have the toughest path to get out of those first 2 rounds too, because the Ottawa Senators ended up being our President's Trophy winners and the best team in the league, tying with the Ducks with 107 points, 106 out of them Sharks. A lot of low-scoring teams this season, but I guess when you have 107 at the top, that's going to end up happening. The Rangers had 92 points, couldn't crack the playoffs. The Jets, Hurricanes, and Penguins all did make the playoffs, along with those Vancouver Canucks and Vegas Golden Knights. Something about the St. Louis Blues. EA is just not a big fan of the St. Louis Blues in this game. Once again, only 81 points. The Leafs only had 76. The Wild only had 78. There's a lot of big names that did not make the playoffs this season. The Bruins, the Stars, the Kings, the Oilers. Heck, the Arizona Coyotes had 84 points. We didn't see that one coming. The New Jersey Devils only had 68. That was more of a flipped upside down season than it was when we took everybody's goalies away. Barkov led our team in points. Backlund was a good addition to the team. He got 52 points over there, and he wasn't even on the first line, so we're going to take that. Would have liked to see more than 29 points out of Bukestad, but that's alright. We'll make it work. There's what I'm talking about. Reimer, 5-8. That's always talking about getting that backup, but thankfully it's the postseason now, so we shouldn't need our backup too much. And Luongo is ready for a Stanley Cup with that .923 save percentage this season and a 2.31 goals against average. A very solid season. Like I said, our backup goalie. Imagine we could put that backup in. Maybe he picks up 9-10 wins instead of just 5-8. Would have been in pretty good shape, I think. Regardless, it is time for some Montreal Canadian playoff hockey versus our Florida Panthers. We're going to win in 4. I'm feeling pretty good about this. 4-game sweep right here. There's one win. There's a loss. That's not going to go too well. 2-2 series is tied. Going back to Montreal, can we win in Montreal? We need that big Montreal win, and we can't. We lost. We may be getting bounced in the first round. That is something we did not want to have happen. We have to win this game to stay alive. If we do not win this game, you can kiss those playoff chances and those cup chances goodbye. Period number 1 did not feature any goals at all. Period number 2, on the other hand, is a 2-1 Florida Panthers lead, and that is what we needed. We needed that McGinn. We needed that Backlund goal. We don't care too much about that Montreal Canadiens goal because we're going to go out there and pick up the W here in the 3rd period. Come on, boys. You know, it'd be a neat addition to the game, like a little fast forward button somewhere so we know how fast it's going forward and backwards. I know we've got like the fast forward buttons, but it doesn't take, oh, it does show you, it's right there. Huh, ×8. I never noticed that. Is that an update? Was that always there? Do I never look at the bottom of the screen? That is how little I look at it. Either way though, looks like we're gonna go out there and win this game. 2-1 Florida Panthers. Going to a game 7, so we are not quite dead yet. We have to win game number 7 though. We haven't won 2 games in a row yet this series. Now would be a perfect time to do that. Going back into Montreal. Period number 1 is a once again 0-0 game. Hey, we'll take a 0-0 game to start the game because that worked last time for us. We scored 2 in the second. This time the Canadiens scored in the second, I believe. Did I miss something? I think they scored in the first. Alright, I missed it. They scored in the first. I messed that up. I didn't see a first period goal. Gallagher got it. How can you miss a Brendan Gallagher goal? Oh well, we need a goal in the 3rd if we want any chance at all. And as of right now, it is not looking good. We ain't getting any good opportunities out there. The Canadiens are on a power play. We're shooting a puck at the blue line thinking that's going to work, and it's not. They're keeping us around the outsides, and we're just struggling. We have 4 minutes left, and we're not going to get it. We're going to lose this game. Empty the net, boys. There it is. Tied the game up with 3 seconds left. Get a little excited there. Started the next period, didn't even try to do it. Literally with 3 seconds left, game is all but over. We get a snipe on Carey Price from the outside of the circle here and tied the game. Now we have to go out there and finish this off. The team has to have that momentum right now going into overtime. Continuous OT, of course, but man, to go out there and tie the game with 3 seconds left, we got to get ourselves a goal. Come on, Florida. Hit us. Power play, Panthers. Can we get one in the back of the net on the power play? We cannot. We may be going to a double overtime. We are not. The Montreal Canadiens buried one with 8 minutes left in the game. That's a heartbreaker from the exact same spot. From a terrible, terrible, terrible angle. Luongo, you can't be letting those in. There better have been a redirect or something. He's barely even in play, and he sniped one in from over there. The team went back and tied the game with 3 seconds left. I felt like one of those games you was just going to come back and win, and it was going to be all but over. But it looks like we couldn't even get out of the first round. What felt like a very good team, albeit we may have wanted a little bit higher of a goalie. An 86 overall was still solid. It seemed like we had a very good team built up. And our Florida Panthers couldn't even get out of the first round. It's unfortunate to see it go down that way, but hey, maybe the Montreal Canadiens go out and win it. It could be the Senators, though. The Senators was the team with 107 points. It seemed like the league was just flip-flopped around this season when it came to talent. I wouldn't say completely because the Senators still have a good team, but it seemed like we've seen a lot of good teams not make the playoffs this season. We'll see which team ended up on top here with the Stanley Cup. It looks like we're going to end the Stanley Cup playoffs here in May this year. How about that? Come on, the NHL knows better. We got to drag them Stanley Cup playoffs out 1 game every 3 days. That's why it ends so early in NHL. I just realized that because it's every other day, I think, normally they do. And in the actual NHL, they do it every couple days. So the Chicago Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup. It was a Western Conference team, the Blackhawks. Looks like we weren't the ones that could win it. Unfortunately, it was those Tampa Bay Lightning, though, bouncing them Senators in the finals. Looks like the Ducks and Senators both made it to the finals, both got bounced. We see a lot of Nashville v Chicago playoff games, it seems like, don't we? But it looks like them Tampa Bay Lightning couldn't quite handle the Blackhawks in the finals. As always, though, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.